I do want to know what y'all think overall about the debate. I do want to know what y'all think overall. I do think. Let me go ahead and dismiss this here. I do think that it was entertaining, but it was not very it wasn't good for us politically. It's not anything to get, hyped up about and feel like, oh yeah, we got us a president that's about to do some great things for us as Americans. Like that, we didn't get that at all. But like I said, I do want to know what y'all feel about the debate. But let's get into like one of the things that was more viral or talked about in our community, black community, was Donald Trump saying that pretty much the illegal immigrants are coming over here and taking black jobs, or he said black jobs and Hispanic jobs. So let's talk about that. How do y'all feel about Donald Trump saying that illegal aliens or illegal immigrants are taking, or illegal migrants are taking black jobs?
The fact is that his big kill on the black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking black jobs now, and it could be 18, it could be 19, and even 20 million people. They're taking black jobs, and they're taking Hispanic jobs, and you haven't seen it yet, but you're going to see something that's going to be the worst in our history.
Thank you.
How did that make you guys feel specifically? Did it make you feel anything? Was he telling the truth? Was he lying? Now, aside from the fact, because I haven't even really seen people really discussing, do we think that illegal immigrants or illegal migrants are taking black jobs? I haven't even seen that be part of the discussion. I've seen pretty much everybody discussing that piece of the situation. Everybody I see discussing it is more focused on he said black jobs. So I'm assuming that everybody thinks he means low-level jobs, because people seem to be offended by the black jobs thing. Here's why I'm not offended by that. Because if I said, hey, they're trying to destroy black businesses, nobody would say, hey, what do you mean by black businesses? I don't know what a black business is. Like, what's a black? Nobody would say that. And that's what people say often. They say black businesses. They say black homes. They say black schools. They say black churches. They say black everything. And it does not mean low level. It doesn't mean anything like that. It just means the space is occupied by black people. So that's why I'm trying to figure out why the black jobs thing. I could understand the joke side, like, oh, what's a black job? I said the funniest one I seen was they said, what's a black job? And somebody said that standing in a line and popping red balloons. I thought that was hilarious. I laughed at that. That was funny to me. But people not understanding that black jobs means jobs that black people are working is interesting to me. I don't know if they just felt like this is just something that we could okay, I just see an update from Julie saying check Thugger Daily already assigned a writ to another judge, which the Supreme Court said that's what would happen. That's an automatic thing. So we'll see how that other judge handles it next week. But as far, let's get back to black jobs. Now I want to let people know that something that you have to realize is that the way this economy is set up, this economy is still running on very old principles of American politics and economic values of capitalism, right? At no point in this country did they start saying that, hey, you know what? We're about to make everything equal and equitable and freely competitive for everybody. That's never been a thing, right? They never come back and said, this is our new realization. This is how we're going to now run our country, right? With that being said, black jobs, spaces, employment spaces occupied by black Americans and black people in America, there's a percentage quota on that, right? There's the reason that the black unemployment is so high is because that means that black people are actively looking for jobs. See, when people try to use that whole, oh, black people are unemployed because they don't want to work. If you don't want to work and you're not looking for a job, you won't be counted in unemployment rate. Unemployment rates only count people who are actively looking for jobs. I don't know if people realize that, right? So this means we are actively looking for jobs at a higher rate than everybody else and not being hired. That's what the unemployment rate that comes out weekly, that's what that means, right? And it has been that way. The black unemployment rate has been higher than every other group in this country forever, except for one month in the entire history of tracking unemployment in this country. And that was April 2020. And Hispanic, the way that they classify them in the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the Hispanic population's unemployment rate jumped higher for that 1 month than black people. That was the first time in American history since tracking unemployment that black people did not have the highest unemployment. One time in the history of America did black people not have the highest unemployment. April 2020. And that was because everything shut down from the pandemic and because of the type of jobs I'm assuming that they were working at that time. They had a higher number of people that had to be laid off. That's the only time ever. And the next month it went back down and black people had the highest unemployment again. Now, I just want y'all to look at the chart, right? I want y'all to look at unemployment as a chart. And actually, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull it up as an image so I could keep on looking at the comments. I'm going to pull it up as an image because y'all need to see this because people need to understand that black job is more of a quantity thing and not a type. It's not an industry thing, right? I want y'all to look at this chart with me here, right? And it should be up at the top left of your screen, right? It's up here. Oh, it's up here. Look at this chart. And I want y'all to see this, right? So the black unemployed, the blue line is for black people, the orange line is Hispanic people, and the gray line is white people, right? Do you see that every year of them tracking this, when other people's unemployment goes up, black people's unemployment goes up proportionally to everybody else's? Meaning, if we lay all these other people off, we have to lay black people off at the same rate. It's not, now you got to think about it. We all kind of work in different industries and different sectors of the economy, right? So you would think when unemployment is up in some sectors, it might be stagnant in other sectors, right? Because why is unemployment moving across all sectors evenly together, right? The reason that if you look at income levels, the reason Asian Americans' income is so high is because of the types of jobs that they normally work, as opposed to black Americans' jobs, the type of jobs that we commonly find ourselves in, right? So if we look at a chart like this unemployment chart, and if we commonly do the types of jobs that are normally steadily blue collar, hospitality, service type jobs, why would people who do different type of jobs have the same rate of unemployment change as us, right? So when you look at this thing year by year, anytime anybody else's unemployment moves, it makes ours move too. And it makes ours go up. So they're pretty much saying, we're not going to keep black people if we don't keep other people. No time in history, except for April of 2020, have anybody else in this country had a higher unemployment rate than black people in America. That's what black jobs is. So when they say somebody is going to take black jobs, what they're essentially saying is that number is going to shift. You see that blue line? That blue line is going to shift upward and another group is going to be inserted in there as another color. Whatever color, make the color up. The blue line is going to go up and the other color is going to come into the fold and probably be higher than white people. It'll be higher than white people, but it's going to push ours up. You know why? Because the amount of allotted jobs in this economy, based on the history that we have in America, the amount of allotted jobs for black people is a fixed number, right? It's not infinite. Of course, it's not infinite, but it's a fixed number, and they're not going to exceed that amount. It's why our unemployment has never been below a certain number. It's why unemployment has never even been the same as white people. If we're talking about rates of employment, why wouldn't it just be the same for everybody? Just think about it. We're talking about rates. Why wouldn't it just be the same for everybody across the board? It's because our economy is not set up that way. It's because our systems, our industries, our infrastructures are not set up to employ black people at the same rates that we employ everybody else. The reason mass incarceration, shout out to Joe Biden for architecting mass incarceration and then bragging about it. The reason it was so important in American history is because they needed a way to mass remove, without extermination, mass remove black men from job market viability. That's what it was about. It wasn't about anything else. You had too many skilled laborers out here competing for blue collar work. You had too many skilled laborers out here competing for factory work. You had too many people that you needed out of the way. And that's how they got it done. So keep that in mind when you have this like whole fight about this black jobs thing. There are black jobs. Actually, there's not just black jobs. There's black incomes also. I don't know if y'all noticed, but in America, they pay people based on race. And I'm about to show you why I say that. Give me a second to get it back. I'm going to show you why I say that. Some people think that, we say these things because we just want to race bait, but that's not the case. That's not the case at all. These are things that we can back. And I love to go to the numbers because I want people to know that this is not something that I just got off. I wasn't just on like the dark web, the Umar Reddit subreddit, nothing like that. I'm going by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. This is where these numbers come from. The Census Bureau. This is where these numbers come from. These numbers come from places that other people deem to be accurate indicators of this information. Now, let's look at this for a second here, right? Can y'all see? So if we look here at, let's just remove total women. Let's look at this. Now, do you see this page? This is just all women right here, right? This chart is looking at all women of different races: white women, black women, Asian, Hispanic, and it says white non-Hispanic. Okay, so they combined some things here. Okay. So now, if you look at Asian women are way up here, right? At the top of the list. They make the most money of all women groups, right? Next up is white women that are not Hispanic. They make the second most. After that, you have white women, which also includes the Hispanic women that are mixed in with that. After that, you have black women. And then after that, you have Hispanic women that do not, that's just Hispanic women as people who identify as Hispanic regardless of the race. Because you know that Hispanic is an ethnicity, not a race. Okay. So if we go to the men, let's add the men in here. And let's go one at a time. We start, okay. Oh, all right. This is the range where they pay white people, right? They pay white women $53,000 on median, the median income, and white men $65,000. That's their range. That's the white range right there. Let's look at the black range. For black people, the income that they pay us, the range for black women is $49,000. For black men is $51,000. That's our range. By the way, people like to say gender pay gap. Black men make less than white women. So it's not a gender pay gap. It's a race pay gap, right? Because black men and black women are $2,000 away from each other, very close. And that's changing the more and more that the industries change. Let's look at the Asian pay scale. The Asian range is, for their men, $87,000 a year median income. For their women, $70,000. Theirs is higher than white people, right? It's not a gender pay gap. It is a racial pay gap. They have different scales for different groups. Let's go to Hispanic. And then the Hispanic pay gap. They are down at, the men are at 47,000, and then the women are at 41,000. It is a racial pay gap, not a gender pay gap. If you look at, if it's about gender, let's look at black men and white women. White women make more than black men. Let's leave that up there and show Asian women. This is supposed to be a gender pay gap, guys. But as Asian women make $20,000 more than black men do, median income, right? So, I'm bringing all this up to say, so when y'all hear the term black jobs, there are black jobs because there's a quota on everything that they do with us in this economy and in these industries, right? So keep that in mind. Now, they talked about that. That was a big thing. They also talked about, we're still talking about the presidential debate. They also discussed climate change. Trump for sure lied about the climate change thing because he didn't really know what to say. He was harping on something else. He talked about the climate change thing and he was like, we had the cleanest water ever. My climate change person just gave me some statistics and they told me that we had the best climate and the best climate numbers in the history of the world. I mean, history of the country. He was just saying anything. And then Biden brought up his whole Green New Deal thing. And it's like, the Green New Deal thing, I see why it's having a hard, I know, because I had to refresh my memory on this whole Green New Deal thing. And I started to remember why they couldn't get it passed. And it's because instead of it staying focused instead of them keeping it focused on the climate, they got so many other things mixed in this Green New Deal that don't even make sense to have. Right? So pretty much what the Green New Deal is has been used to describe policies that address climate change policies and investment in renewable energy. You see, that's what they say it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be climate change and investment in renewable energy. But then they start adding other stuff into it that don't make sense to be in a climate change thing. Let me find where they said what else was added in there because it was kind of, I'm like, what? So then they tried to sneak in there. The deal promised to tackle economic inequality by creating high quality union jobs and called for protection of workers' rights, community ownership, universal health care, and job guarantee. While those things are good things to have as far as a country, it'd be good to have those things as a country. Why are you trying to sneak it into a bill about climate change? See, that's where they really went wrong with this whole Green New Deal thing. Why are you sneaking this thing in to a climate change bill? Let the climate change bill be about climate change. They're saying that America is one of the worst producers of CO2 in the world. Let me let y'all see this chart. Let me let y'all see this chart here. I'm gonna show y'all this chart because it is crazy if this is true. I don't know how true it is, but they're saying look at this. Look at this chart, man. This is the chart that they're saying that America is emitting this much CO2 and the rest of the world combined is way down here. So they definitely should have been focused on a climate change proposal that stood by itself as a climate change proposal. They killed it by adding all that other stuff in there, right? These topics are too highly debated. Union jobs, universal health care, community ownership, workers' rights. These are too highly debated to try to get in. Like, I don't know what they was thinking with that one, right? So yes, the presidential debate included them discussing climate change. I think that they need to revamp the Green New Deal if they want to get that thing passed, because with all the other stuff in there, it's not going to happen. And then they talked about inflation, and Trump agreed that inflation has been terrible. Of course, I mean, how could he not agree? But everybody agrees that inflation has been terrible. So he did talk about his work to try to help out with inflation, and that was the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. So the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022, HR 5376, was designated to reduce the deficit and lower inflation while investing in domestic energy production and lowering healthcare drug costs. The bill became law with President Biden's signature on August 16, 2022. In essence, the law is a scaled-down version of the Build Back Better Act proposed by the Biden administration in 2021. So the Inflation Act, I mean, it covers a lot of different things, but it was really supposed to get that deficit down. So they had, they was expected to raise 739, but it only had a total investment of 433. So they looked at it as a reduction in the deficit of $300 billion. So let's look at what it's talking about here. According to the White House, the Inflation Reduction Act was going to be the single largest investment in climate and energy in American history. Spending was designed to lower energy costs, increase cleaner energy production, and reduce carbon emissions by 40% by 2030. The law accomplishes a long-standing Democratic goal to allow Medicare to negotiate lower drug prices, although there are limits to the number of drugs affected and the time frame involved. Another plus was a $2,000 annual cap on out-of-pocket drug costs. So, of course, they mixed in other stuff with this thing, but it's all related to the economy and getting costs down. A significant funding source for programs in the law was a 15% corporate tax minimum tax on large corporations that report book income averaging more than $1 billion a year. Okay, the law imposed no new taxes on families who made $400,000 or less annually in certain small business. So Biden was trying to do his thing when it came to reducing some of that inflation. So we can't knock him for that. Like I said, I will call out any political party who was doing wrong, but I'll salute them when they're doing something good. The Inflation Reduction Act was a good attempt, but that was 2 years ago, and things have not really changed much as far as prices go. Actually, things are getting more expensive as time goes on. So maybe they need to revamp that. Maybe they need to let somebody else advise them on how they should handle it. But prices are still climbing, guys. Okay, so the whole air got let out of the cells when my whole power went out. You know what I mean? And everybody got dropped. So I'm gonna just leave it there. We discussed the debate. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments.